Marilee, life is but a dream. Are you there?
I sure am. Good to see you all
There
today.
you are. Yay. We got a little behind, but it's okay, everybody. If you have to go, come and go as you want. But all of these conversations are super important. And what a amazing segue into this. We've had a couple of great segues into this conversation, but I want to say that this is going to be like the one of those best of times, one of those worst of times conversations, but it is super important that we have it. And I've called this session Recruitment Reality. And Marilee Hutton Clark, she's a concierge recruiter for the printing industry at Inkwell Collaborative. And she has been helping me really spearheading the effort to connect students with open house events for print across America. And in that effort, she has had numerous conversations with educators and printers on the other end of that. And she's here to report in on what she's learned to help you all become better at attracting, maintaining, and sustaining people to work for you. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. So can you start off by telling everybody, what does a concierge recruiter do? A little bit about your background, and then just go right into it and we'll have a conversation, please.
Love to. First of all, thanks so much for all the panelists and speakers. I've learned a lot today. I've got a lot of great notes, and it certainly has been resonating a theme for me of some of the things that I've learned and some of my passions. So my name is Marilee Hutton Clark, Inkwell Collaborative, and I'm a concierge recruiter. What my approach is to help people find new candidates is unique. I bring an innovative system to the process. And what that is that frankly, I have 30 years worth of experience, and I combine the 30 years of wisdom along with technology and the science to try to help first identify your team's dynamics and then be able to go look at that team and really speak about what will be the best candidate. Beyond being a recruiter, my passion is about development of people. I thought Kelly's comment about, leaders need to develop their teams first. That's a great leader. I really was like, hear ye, hear ye. That was one of my favorite comments today. And that's one of my passions, is that I help printers with doing a better job once they hire, also to be able to develop, train, and onboard this talent. And that's literally, I worked for a $300 million company. I ran one of the largest facilities in Denver, Colorado. I have hired every position for the printers, and I'm passionate about helping develop systems that are going to continue to help printers do a better job taking this next generation, bringing them in and setting them up to win. And we know that this next generation is all about development, and that is really what all I am about as well. So I was so happy to have this opportunity to work with Deborah on working with all these educators across the US. Do you have anything you want me to keep going?
Yeah, no, yes, please just keep going, because I mean, they need to hear what you learned firsthand from the educators out in the world teaching people about printing, graphic arts, and marketing.
So my goal was to find educators and students to attend open houses for print across America. And in that process, I was interviewing the educators to learn more about the students that they're working with, the programs that they have, mostly, to Pat's point, graphic design programs, graphic communications, with a few that highlight print. But one of the things that I started to hear this consistent in these dozens of conversations, consistent message, and then I got better at asking better questions, is what percent of your students are female? The average amount is, I'm going to give you so the low end is 56%. The high end is 86%. 56 to 86% of the graphic communications, graphic design programs are women. And the numbers were high to me. I wasn't surprised it was over 50, but you get up to 86 in these different programs and you're like, wow. And I think that one of the most startling conversations I had was with an educator who had the 86%. And she said to me, Marilee, you know what? The challenge for the following printers is for you to be able to attract these students. My students are coming out with a graphic communications program that literally does have highlights in printing. And I can tell you, your challenge is to recruit them. So I went deeper. Why? She said, well, first of all, when we go into print shops, or we're looking at internships, but we're inside of a print shop, they do not see women. They do not see women in the higher echelon. They don't see women leading the conversation. They don't see women leading the tours. Frankly, they don't want to work for companies if they don't see that they're represented. And I'm like, great, great. Coming from a $300 million company, I understand that as well, as far as the lack of large leadership in the female way. The other thing she talked about was, frankly, and this was other educators as well, that when they do walk into some of the print facilities, frankly, and Deborah goes, you can't sugarcoat this, Marilee. They need to hear it. Frankly, they look at these shops and they're like, they're dirty, they're cringy to walk into, and frankly, people don't look like they're having any fun. And it's that whole idea, because in your head you're like, I was a GM running a print shop, and I'm like, I always remember that first impression, like, how do the graphics on the wall look like? Is it inviting? Is it exciting? Because what we do is so exciting. You couldn't do it for 34 years if you weren't like, wow, what we do is so cool, right? And yet, how good are we at communicating that when people have these first impressions when they walk through the door and they're like, boring, yawn, dirty, grin, not exciting. So, number one, it was the female part. This number two was literally talking about what it felt like when they were in these internships and these tours. And literally, the educators were really more speaking to the lack of connection with printers. Here we have these great students, but there's not a printer connected to our classroom. Why is it that these printers aren't coming and knocking on our door and saying, can I come in? Can we talk about what's going on in the industry? Can I share the exciting beauty of print? Because when they talk about print is dead, and yet you're like, I'm sorry, it's everywhere. How are we doing that? How are we communicating that print is everywhere? And it's so exciting, and getting a way to connect with these students for the next generation and being able to say, it's relevant, it's exciting, and look at all of us women on this call who have made a living this way. It's super exciting. What have I missed, Deborah?
Well, I think the thing is that sometimes we heard that printers did invite schools over for open house events, and they did not have great experiences there. Whether it was that the owner would, come in and say hello and then leave, and then the next person would like make fun of the owner or say something disparaging, or maybe they were trying to ingratiate themselves with the students, but it set a tone. It also, I think you sugarcoated this a little. They said that the employees looked like they were all about to call the suicide hotline, and that nobody had anything exciting to say about what they do all day. They didn't take the time to explain to anybody about their career options. They went home with some samples, and honestly, the educators were telling Marilee that it was not worth it for them to send the students to open house events, which threw me into a /tirade/depression.
Yeah.
But so I think you still sugarcoated that part a little, but I'm not Debbie Doom about this. There is actually hope, because as we heard these things, and as Marilee was reporting them back to me, there were also some ways in which we can fix some of this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I did want to talk about the 101 of reminding your leaders the communication to these students. One of the comments that I didn't share it came from several educators where the leaders of the company basically dismissed the education, basically saying, you know what, you just should come here. I could have taught you everything you need to know. There's no reason why you should get into this education. I'm sure you are all shaking your head, because quite frankly, I was shaking my head a lot as I feverishly write these notes down. And we all need to be coached in life. Feedback's a gift. And frankly, one of the things that I've been doing then is coaching the printers. So now we have, hundreds of students going into these print shops. And what's really exciting is the printers that are going to be hosting these open houses, they're ecstatic to do this, and they take the feedback. We had a great session that Deborah led where we talked about doing a great open house. I know that is still available. So if anybody wanted to learn more about how to create that amazing event, that is there as well. So, the positive side is the following. We're all here together today to learn from each other, and we're all female leaders. And I would encourage you all to find, and I saw Kelly in the notes talked about technical schools. I'll tell you what, some of the home runs are these technical schools where they're in high schools and they're junior and senior programs, and they come out with an associate's print degree. And what I'm learning is about 20% of them go right into the trade. Another 20% go into community college, then another 20% go into college. But, Kelly nailed it. Boy, there were so many terrific programs that as a GM, I think to myself, when Pat was just talking about having to discuss printing equipment and finishing and binding and blah, blah, blah. As a GM, I'm like, boy, I could take a green person that has the ability to sell if they had that base foundation that's coming out of these technical schools, and then I could do something with that. So it led me really, I'm really excited about it, but there was some humbling moments through the process.
So let's talk about the things that people got right and some of the positive ways that we can make things more welcoming and inviting for the students.
Well, there were several. Number one, it's just literally preparing your staff to be able to set them up to win. And one of the things that we chatted about several times is, look around the room. Who do we have that are diverse? Like where's our diversity? And then let's help that team, set themselves up to win. And, I would often tell this story about a lead in my pre-press team who was very quiet and shy. And I said, she could give a great presentation when she was coached. And so a lot of these printers are working on trying to find the right people so that when they do these tours, that they're going to be presenting, quite frankly, their diversity, but also their strengths. And the other part that these educators really want to talk about was making sure you connected the dots in, this is what I do for a living. Here's the education that I have. This is why it plays so important that you're getting this education. And that's been really helpful as well. So the positives are the following. They really are working to try to get their shops to be somewhere that they do want to host and be able to make it exciting. Students are coming in, they're making variable data content that's going to basically have their name, and it's going to be something that's going to connect them to it. They're, some are serving lunch, and yes, we all, seem like I giggle about that, but we've all been college students, and you'll remember that XYZ company served you some pizza when you came in there. And so overall, what we're finding is it's exciting to see once the connection happens. So I introduced them, and I introduced the printer with the educator, and then the banter starts to happen. And that's the magic, because we want to walk away with these printers having these great relationships with these educators so that we can help move people forward in their careers into print.
There were two other things that I think are super important for everybody out there who's looking for people. And obviously you should work with Marilee. She can help you do that. But the first was that the students don't understand what their career paths are. So, to Marilee's point, if you have students over, you go speak with them, you say, "Hey, I started off at answering the phone and now I own the company," and explain how that happened, or tell stories about employees, entry level employees, and the skills that they had and where the opportunities were, whether you're in a print shop or a Canon or anybody else like that. Everybody wants to understand the possibilities there. The second thing is something we can all do better at, and it was very interesting to me. They would, and Marilee, please correct me if I'm paraphrasing incorrectly, but I believe one of the challenges was that they don't understand the production process. They
Mm.
know they know different components of it, but they don't understand the concept of it. Starting with, okay, somebody calls you or sends you a file and orders print. Why did you recommend that application for that job? What happened to it after you took the order in? Where did it go next? How did it end up on the press? How do you know what to print on Tuesday and what to print on Wednesday, and what finishing capabilities? I mean, they don't understand, not that I do either, by the way, but I'm just saying, in a full circle entity of, at the end of the day, what did that postcard, why did you send that postcard, and what were the results for the customer or the customer's customer? They're disconnected from that. So that type of, let's say, full picture of what why how print is manifested and why, is interesting to them, interesting enough that if you're the one who explains it to them, that they won't be afraid to ask you questions, and you can really start a great relationship. Do you think that that was a fair assessment of your conversations?
Yes, absolutely. I think that closing what Deborah just talked about, one of the examples is they're doing case studies. They're doing a packaging which they show, here's what the customer's challenge was. It wasn't moving off of the shelf. Here, what are your ideas on how to enhance that package? And then what are the end results, which was a really wonderful way to engage the students.
Excellent. Well, Marilee, we're a little behind, so we're gonna catch up now. But if I just want to thank you so much for everything you have done, to connect educators and printers and, manufacturers, and help me launch Print Across America. If you don't know what Print Across America is a, uh, on International Print Day, which is October 25th, printers from coast to coast in the US and Canada are opening up for open house events. And one of my goals was to make sure that we were starting on the local level to connect with the students, because workforce development is such a serious problem in this industry. And I wanted it to be meaningful. So we created a form where we asked the educators what they were teaching in their classes, what they wanted students to get out of open houses, and more specifically, what were the types of jobs they were going to be looking for when they graduated, so that when they went to these open houses events, that's exactly what they would get. That's the experience they would have, because we were hearing no from too many schools because they said it's doesn't work out. It's not meaningful. And I just want to thank you for making it meaningful. If you can put your information in the chat for everybody, that would be amazing. And yes, go ahead, please.
Last thing, Deborah, thank you. Thank you for leading the charge. You are such a light in all of our lives, and we're passionate about what you do. So thank you for what you do. Everyone
Thank,
have a great day.
thank you very much. That was very kind of you.